Alright, welcome back to the Beanbag. Today I wanted to show you just a few figures, which are the figures from the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine dress uniforms. Introduced in the Next Generation, it was a longer jacket style uniform that came down, in the first season it came down past their knees for some reason. I guess somebody took the term dress a little too literally. By the time that we got to Deep Space Nine, they had gotten to where they were significantly shorter, only coming to about the hip. But this particular line is going to start with the figure that everyone had, Jordy. Jordy in the dress uniform. This was part of the second wave of action figures of the Next Generation toy line. This is one of the things that has always confounded me. You know, apparently they were like, oh, we need to do some figures in the dress uniforms. And, you know, upon trying to debate, well, where should we start? Which figures should we put in the dress uniform first? Maybe we should do just one or two for this first set. Who should we start with? Well, we should obviously start with Jordy. I don't know where that logic came from, and it's always been a little confusing to me. So, yeah, they came out with the Jordy in the dress uniform. They pumped way too many of these out, and there is still thousands and thousands and thousands of these out there. A lot of them even still on card. I've joked about trying to collect as many as I could. Sorry, that was my phone, my alarm. Just as a joke to see how many I could collect. Next is the second one that came out, actually, which was Data. Which, as you can see, it's literally the exact same body with the Data Brent Spiner head put on it and the hands repainted. Literally nothing else is different about it. Now, they did later on come out with a pack. It was the captains and first officers. And in that, it had Kirk and Spock wearing their dress uniforms, which I'm pretty sure I showed that when I did the original series set that I showed. Then they had Sisko and Major Keira from Deep Space Nine, but they weren't in dress uniforms, they were in regular uniforms. But they did finally, this was when we finally got Captain Picard wearing the dress uniform, which again, you can see it's the exact same body, it's just repainted red with Patrick Stewart's head, and they did Riker. Again, this is the exact same figure, body, with the head swap, and that's all. These are still really good. Now, of course, this actually does bring up one of the things I talked about in a previous video of how on these early figures, if you look really closely, they sculpted here. You might be able to hear it. They sculpted the pips on here. Now, of course, Jordy being the first one that they made has 3 pips. So when they made Captain Picard, they only had 3 pips on here. So they had to awkwardly paint this 4th pip onto him. And it's not quite in line, it's just slightly off, it's a little bit bigger, and that actually kind of drives me nuts. That's why I'm so glad they did switch to just painting them all on later on. Now, eventually, they did start doing a couple of Deep Space Nine ones. First, we got the Captain Sisko, or I believe it was still Commander Sisko at the time, in the dress uniform. And actually, let me grab. You'll notice that this is when they shortened the length on these by just a little bit to where it's that slightly better formal look for these. And then they did come out with Chief O'Brien in his dress uniform. And I still like these, but I've got to be honest, and here, let me grab one of these again. Something about the chest in the Deep Space Nine cut has always looked a little odd to me. Like, it's almost over flat or something. I'm not real sure. They did eventually make a Jadzia Dax wearing a dress uniform. I never managed to get a hold of that one. I do have some things I'm looking at. I saw one on eBay I might be actually trying to get this week. We'll see what happens. Now, as far as customs that I've made using the dress uniforms, first is Worf. Now, it's pretty obvious. I just took that same jordy uniform. I custom made the scarf that Worf wears with his dress uniform, and I put the Worf head on there. I think it looks fairly good this way. Yeah, it looks odd when you put him next to the others, because he's the exact same height as the rest of them. Again, that's that same thing that happens with the Riker figure. And I then have also made Dr. Bashir from Deep Space Nine, wearing his dress uniform. This is, again, that same body. I just repainted it to the science officer teal color. Now, the last one I've got is actually, it's the one that should have been put with that pack of the 3 captains and the 3 first officers, which is Major Keira. This is, her dress uniform was this sort of purpley plum color. I've never been real sure what to call the color on that. I really do like this dress uniform. It's actually quite nice. And I noticed just now I've got a little something on there. I need to try and get that off. But yeah, I just did use the regular Major Keira, made a skirt on it, made the little flap section that comes across the front, and repainted the whole thing this, again, not real sure what kind of color to call it. It's the sort of the purpley plum color. Well, that is it for the Next Generation dress uniforms. Thank you, and I hope to see you next time.